James Paxton exiting the game as early as he did on Sunday feels like a huge blow to the Boston Red Sox playoff chances for the rest of the season.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed for free. That is the best part about it, is you don't have to pay a dime to listen to this show. So you might as well check it out because Locked On is your team every single day. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to get parts fast. Shop for your next plumbing, HVAC, or electrical job and get fast shipping from coast to coast at SupplyHouse.com. Welcome to today's show, and not so happy Monday. Unfortunately, the Red Sox are making that a very painful experience for all of us here today after they got swept at home over the weekend by the Houston Astros. And on today's show, I'm going to be diving all into the sweep and what really went wrong for Boston. I mean, honestly, the most frustrating thing has to just be the momentum that they had going into the series, because they're coming off of a good, strong series win against the Royals, a team that they've been watching in the wild card standings all season long, a team that they really needed to beat. And they did. They won the season series against them and gained a game in the wild card standings, only to then come back home to Fenway and lose another 3 games against the Houston Astros. They have now lost 4 games in a row. So I'm going to be diving into all of it today, but perhaps the biggest thing that's on people's minds today is the status of James Paxton, who unfortunately was starting the game for the Red Sox on Sunday, but had to exit 5 pitches into the game with a right calf strain. He had allowed a leadoff single followed by a double play, and then Yordan Alvarez grounded the third pitch he saw down to Dom Smith at first base, who was unable to cleanly field it. So because it was bobbled by Dom, naturally then the pitcher is supposed to cover first base, and Paxton started to head towards first base to cover it on the play, but he came up limping after his first few steps and was only able take a few more steps before kneeling on the infield grass in what was very noticeable pain. He could not even put pressure on his right leg. The training staff and coaches immediately came out to check on him, and he was helped off the field soon after. And that was very hard to watch, because the optimistic side of me wanted to say maybe it's just a cramp, maybe he just needs a minute and then he can get back to pitching and he'll be okay. But based on his reaction, the fact that he couldn't even put pressure on his leg, I was like, wow, this is something a lot more serious than a cramp. This is so not ideal for the Red Sox. So he's going to receive an MRI sometime today, and we will know more about his status and whether to expect a long IL stint or what's going on there. But there are supposed to be some roster moves coming to help replenish the pitching staff in case there is a long absence for Paxton. This is a huge blow to the Red Sox rotation. I mean, this was his 3rd start since rejoining the Red Sox in a trade with the Dodgers. Overall this year, he's 9-3 with a 4.40 ERA in 21 starts. So obviously he wasn't having an amazing season by any stretch of the word, but he was a big trade deadline acquisition for Boston, because this team really needed to get another starter who could pitch every 5th day and eat innings. And Paxton was coming off of a really solid start his last time out on the mound. So it's definitely upsetting to think about the possibility of him missing the rest of the season. And it feels like James Paxton mixing the rest of the season would basically count the Red Sox out of making the playoffs unless they make some serious moves. They pick up a pitcher who's available that can miraculously help turn things around. With how poorly the pitching looked in this series against Houston, I don't have my hopes very high that they would be able to turn that around with Paxton not being available on that 5th day. And as it is, they have a bullpen who's getting worn out, guys who have been used a lot. I mean, as it is, they had a bullpen game on Saturday, a game in which they fell 5-4. So they already were using a lot of guys in that game. And then they go into Sunday's game expecting it to not have to be a bullpen game, but then end up being forced to have a bullpen game because of the fact that Paxton was pulled from the game. So definitely not an ideal scenario. I was so worried for him when I saw that live, and we just have to pray for him and hope for the best and hope that this doesn't cause a long-term injury to him to the point where he can't come back. I'm hoping for the best case scenario. He gets an MRI. It's a temporary issue and it's something that he'll be able to return from, but you never really know with these types of injuries to pitchers. He looked like he was in a lot of serious pain, and he was even out on the field for a little bit after the initial pain was felt to try to see if he could stay out there. And then he talked it through with the training staff and Cora and ended up exiting the game. So then the Red Sox put in Lucas Sims after that and followed along with the rest of what was a disastrous of a bullpen game. So I'm going to be touching on that a little bit more later. But the Red Sox need James Paxton or an equivalent starter to pitch every 5th day if they want to give themselves a chance to make the playoffs now. I mean, they did make a couple roster moves prior to this series against Houston. They placed Brian Bayo on the paternity leave list, obviously something he'll be back from very soon. They placed Cooper Criswell on the COVID-19 related injured list. Obviously, he will be back very soon after he finishes his quarantine period. And then as a result of those two moves, the Red Sox recalled left-handed pitcher Cam Boozer and right-handed pitcher Brad Keller from AAA Worcester. So there was a little bit of shuffling around that took place with the pitchers prior to the series, but it's just one thing after another. I mean, I was hoping for another strong start from Paxton based on how he had looked in his previous start right before that. And unfortunately, that was not the case. Him having to get pulled just 5 pitches into his start was even more taxing on the bullpen. And it was on a day where Rafael Devers was resting because Alex Cora knows that the Red Sox have a long stretch of games coming up with very few off days in the mix. So they need to get their guys rest. And obviously it's not ideal when Devers isn't in the lineup because you need his strong bat in there basically every single day. But with this long of a stretch, you're going to start to see guys not be in the lineup who would normally be in it. So it's definitely not ideal from a pitching standpoint that because they're having all of these consecutive games over a short period of time, to be having all these pitchers be used as much as they are right now. And bringing in Lucas Sims and Luis Garcia at the trade deadline was supposed to help with the workload of some of the relievers. But the reality of the situation is that now with James Paxton's status being unknown, whether he's going to be able to return, it's going to force the Red Sox to add some pitching reinforcements and try to find a way to give somebody a shot to pitch every 5th day, whether that's just bringing somebody on who's a free agent right now, whether they were DFA'd or they're just available, or they're calling somebody up from AAA to give them an opportunity to pitch in the majors. Because at this point, they don't have another choice. They are absolutely backed into a corner. And we can hope for the best from Paxton's MRI for sure. And we can hope that everything comes back positive and that he's able to play sooner rather than later so that he can come back and contribute to this Red Sox team. But the reality at the end of the day is people need to be prepared for the worst case scenario here. And that is that they say Paxton can't pitch for the rest of the season. And in that case, what position does that leave the Red Sox in? What do they do to fix that problem? And it's going to be on Craig Breslow to bring in reinforcements now so that the Red Sox have some weapons that they can use if they want to try to stay within reach of a wild card spot. So it definitely was a very upsetting, very concerning thing that took place in the finale of this series against the Houston Astros. And I just hope that when his MRI comes back, we receive better news than we're anticipating. It was a horrific sweep overall for the Red Sox, though. Did not play their best baseball by any sense of the word. And coming up next, I'm going to be going over in more detail what went wrong for Boston in this absolute mess of a series. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades. SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trademaster program. Every Trademaster gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/T-M and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. You always definitely need your supplies in order to make sure your housework is in order, and you can do it very easily with SupplyHouse.com. So I highly recommend it today. Thank you for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen today. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On MLB podcast. Host Paul Sullivan, aka Sully, is here daily to provide national expertise with his trademark humor to help you get ready for the MLB playoffs here in the dog days of summer. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day on Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Sully does a great job of keeping you in the loop on all things going on with every Major League Baseball team, so make sure you check out his show. What's a disappointing weekend series for the Boston Red Sox as they got swept at home by the Houston Astros, and the finale was definitely the biggest blow because of the fact that James Paxton was supposed to be starting. I was expecting and hoping for a big start from him pitching deep into the game. Unfortunately, that was not the reality, as he did have to be helped off the field 5 pitches into his start. And I'm just hoping for the best there so that he can return and be able to help this Red Sox rotation. They ended up falling 10-2 in the game after he was pulled. They brought in Lucas Sims, who pitched 2 innings, gave up 1 earned run, but looked pretty good for the most part. But then things fell apart when Brennan Bernardino came in. He pitched an inning and a third. He gave up 4 hits and 4 earned runs. 2 of those came off of the home run. And then Luis Garcia pitched 2 innings and gave up 5 earned runs as well as a home run. So Brennan Bernardino and Luis Garcia were an absolute mess. The long ball haunted both of them. That was the biggest story of the game from a pitching standpoint. And it's been very disappointing because Brennan Bernardino definitely had solid moments. Last year, he was a really reliable, high leverage guy. Even early this year, he had his moments. He came into a game earlier in the season in which it was bases loaded, no outs, and he was able to get out of the jam. So Bernardino used to be relied upon in those types of situations, but now he really hasn't been reliable much this year, has not even been close to the most reliable reliever in the Red Sox pen, and it's definitely been disappointing. And when Chris Bell is activated again from the COVID list, you have to wonder if Brennan Bernardino would be the corresponding roster move. They either DFA him or send him down to AAA because he just is not cutting it this year. And it's disappointing because I used to be very high on Bernardino, and I am not so much anymore because he just has had command issues this year, has not been able to figure things out on the mound. And then Luis Garcia was just acquired by the Red Sox at the trade deadline and has not lived up to expectations that Red Sox fans had. He currently has a 4.71 ERA on the season and wasn't overly impressive this season before the Red Sox got him. So I was very surprised that they gave up 4 prospects for him. Nobody in the top 15, but 4 prospects is a lot for a reliever who's coming here and has not performed at all yet. And he needs to start performing very quickly, or it's going to be a tough look on Craig Breslow, identifying him as somebody who could help solve the bullpen woes as of late. But he just has not been able to help solve the problems. He has just gone out there and given up a boatload of runs since beginning his time in a Boston Red Sox uniform. So that's definitely something that has to change too. Overall, a very messy game for Boston. But what was more frustrating about the way this series ended was that Saturday's game felt like it could have been a win and should have been a win. It ended 5-4 Houston. Rafael Devers did hit a leadoff double in the bottom of the 9th inning, and the Red Sox could not score him. It was a double that bounced off the wall, but looked like it could have been a home run. I was about to freak out thinking they tied the game. Did not happen. Double, could not score him, lost 5-4. Very disappointing. The Red Sox had 6 hits in the game. But the problem was just that they couldn't get the offense going early on in the game, and it was very pathetic to watch. I was like, I just want this team to string together some hits. The first base runner was David Hamilton, who walked in the bottom of the 3rd inning. But they weren't recording hits. They didn't get a hit in the game until Danny Jansen hit a solo home run in the bottom of the 5th inning to tie it 1-1, 393-foot homer for him. But that's the problem when you snooze coming out of the gate. It affects your play. And if the Red Sox had strung together some hits earlier on in the game, maybe they win that one. And it just felt like that one was in reach and should have been won. But Yordan Alvarez just owns the Red Sox, hit 2 home runs in Saturday's game. And the Astros came out with a 5-4 win. And it was infuriating, really. It was the one defined bullpen game before the series started for the Boston Red Sox. Josh Winkowski started and went 3 innings, gave up 2 hits and a solo home run. Brad Keller then came in. He ended up taking the loss in the game, but he put in quite an effort. 4 innings for him, giving up 6 hits and 3 earned runs. He did give up 2 homers, but he struck out 6, and he did the best he could to eat innings for this Red Sox team. And that was the biggest thing that stood out to me about his performance on Saturday, was that he was able to pitch a good chunk of that game, because the Red Sox do need their arms to be able to be conserved. So I was happy that he was able to pitch 4 innings, but it was just unfortunate that he did give up those 2 home runs, because it did hurt him for sure. And then Zach Kelly pitched an inning, gave up 1 run. He gave up a home run, and then Chris Martin pitched 1 inning, giving up 1 hit, but no earned runs, and he struck out 1. It's nice to see Chris Martin back. He definitely is a net positive that the Red Sox have here when it comes to the pitching, somebody who very much could help this Red Sox pitching staff moving forward if they are really trying to make a playoff run. So I really appreciate having him back, but it was definitely a frustrating game overall for sure for the Boston Red Sox, and one that should have been won. The opening game on Friday night, the Red Sox fell 8-4. Tanner Houck pitched that one. He pitched 6 innings, giving up 4 hits and 1 earned run. He did walk 3, but he struck out 1, and he looked solid. 3.02 ERA on the season now, and he was only at about 82, 83 pitches when he got pulled after the 6th inning. And there were people wondering why he was pulled. And I get he was only at 82 pitches. He was cruising, but that is the point lately in the game where Houck has been starting to struggle as of late. So I don't really blame Alex Cora for pulling him, because he did say he's going to start managing these games like playoff games, because every game at this point is a must win for the Boston Red Sox, which is why this sweep was a huge blow for them. So I wasn't fully surprised that Alex Cora took him out when he did. I questioned it for a minute, but then when you really think about it, he does start to struggle at that point in the game as of late, really since the All-Star break. So I don't really blame Cora for not wanting to take the chance to keep him in, but things kind of fell apart after he did get pulled. Lucas Sims, who took the loss, came in and just pitched 1/3 of an inning, giving up 4 earned runs, including a home run. And then Zach Kelly pitched 0.2 innings, gave up 0 earned runs. Luis Garcia pitched an inning, gave up 1 earned run. And then Cam Boozer pitched 1 inning and gave up 2 earned runs. He also gave up a home run. I mentioned that Boozer was just called back up from AAA recently as one of the corresponding moves with Criswell and Bayo going on different injured list related things. So Cam Boozer is back up. Hopefully he stays back up. I don't think he should be the choice for the corresponding move when Criswell comes back. I think he should stay up in the majors. But the wheels kind of fell off the bus when Lucas Sims came in, and it was just unfortunate timing because it looked really bad on Cora that he had pulled Houck when he did at that point. But the main reasoning to me was because Houck started to struggle at that point in the game as of late, and they also have to manage his workload down the stretch. Cora has actually said before that they were going to start to manage Houck's workload so he doesn't get burned out. This is the most innings he's pitched in his career in a season. So I think the Red Sox are just trying to make sure that he's not super fatigued by the end of the year. So that's another big reason why they pulled him when he did. Unfortunately, the bullpen didn't have it. They have to do their job as well, and that just didn't happen on Friday night. But if you take that as a separate issue from Tanner Houck, his workload did have to start to be managed. So I very much am not surprised that Alex Cora made the decision that he did make. Unfortunately, things did not go the Red Sox way in this series. I mean, the pitching is the biggest thing that stood out to me as an issue. Also, Dom Smith did pitch the 9th inning in Sunday's game. And by the way, I'm very high on Dom Smith, the reliever. Perhaps a new role for him when Casas comes back, maybe. I don't know, but I mean, Dom Smith takes care of business when he's on the mound for this team, which I find to be so funny. He just really is willing to do it all, plays good baseball, and has been really helping this team in every way that he possibly can, really over the last month or so. And we've seen him make an impact both offensively and defensively at first base. So it'll be tough to part ways with him when Casas does come back. But overall, I'm a big fan of Dom Smith here with this Boston Red Sox team. I just really hope that they can get back on track. Big stretch coming up here. Challenging schedule. They're playing lots of teams who would currently be in the playoffs if the season ended today. Hopefully they have another big series against the Rangers like they did last time. And then they play the Orioles for 4. That series is going to test everything about the Red Sox. The Orioles are a very solid, complete baseball team, and they are not the type of team to allow mistakes to pass by. They will take advantage of mistakes, and the Red Sox need to go out and play a lot better baseball than they did this weekend, or they definitely can kiss their playoff hopes goodbye. So I'm hoping to see much better from them moving forward. And even though the news was tough for the big league team over the weekend, there is some exciting news that broke within the Red Sox system on Sunday. So coming up, I'm going to be going over that, and you won't want to miss it. Sandals, sunscreen, snacks for the kids. What do these have in common? You're probably buying a ton again this summer. But don't stress about the cost. Use Ibotta and get cash back on all of your purchases when you stock up on all of your summer essentials. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight you've been eyeing, or the fancy dinner you've been craving. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying it by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKEDONMLB. I mean, I am telling you, you can save a lot of money by using Ibotta if you get the app and get cash back and a lots of useful supplies that are on there. So don't wait another minute. Check it out today. I love sports. I love them so much, I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. FanDuel is a great way to earn lots of money in a short time span. My fiance could speak on it firsthand. He uses it every day, and he's excited for the WNBA to come back this week because he can start making lots of money on that again like he was doing before. So make sure that you download FanDuel today and start winning lots of money. The Boston Red Sox are coming off of a very bad series against the Houston Astros in which they got swept at home. I don't know what it is about Fenway, but they play vastly better on the road than they do at home. Maybe it's the pressure that comes with playing in front of the home crowd. I don't know what, but whatever it is, they need to get over it and figure it out. I am tired of there being such a drastic difference in play from this team from when they play at home to when they play on the road. It's completely unacceptable, and it is not a way at all to expect to make the playoffs. They need to play better at Fenway at the end of the day if they want the slightest chance of making the postseason. Unfortunately, James Paxton did get injured early on in the game on Sunday, and it makes the Red Sox playoff chances look gloomy. But in the minor league system, there wasn't as much gloom as on Sunday. The big news came out that the big three of Marcelo Mayer, Kyle Teel, and Roman Anthony are all being promoted together to AAA Worcester. This is super exciting. Red Sox fans have been waiting for this day for months now. They've all performed very well in AA Portland, and it started to create some curiosity over the season about when this trio might move up to AAA. And on Sunday afternoon, all three of them were informed following the Sea Dogs home contest that they've been promoted to AAA Worcester. They will join the Woo Sox at Polar Park for this week's home series against the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. All three of them entered the year with immense expectations on them. In many ways, they've lived up to and even exceeded some of those expectations. Marcelo Mayer entered Sunday hitting .307 with a .370 on base percentage and .480 slugging with 8 homers, 36 extra base hits, and 13 steals in 77 games. After his 2023 season was cut short in early August by a left shoulder injury, he's now reestablished his credentials as one of the top prospects in the minors. He combines excellent bat speed with looseness and adjustability in his swing, which is a combination that has produced strong performances steadily this season. He's hit at least .287 with an OPS over 800 in each month of Portland's season this year. In a year where he has described improved swing decisions as his primary focus, he slashed his strikeout rate from 24% last year to 20% this year. So he's definitely grown as a player. Some evaluators do believe his best long-term position may be third base, where he's only played one game this season, given his lack of explosiveness. A lot of people believe his baseball IQ, fluid actions, and strong arm will allow him to spend multiple years as a big league shortstop before a position change needs to be considered. So he will come up to the Red Sox at some point and most likely be the starting shortstop. I mean, they have Devers at third base, and then eventually maybe down the road, they do move him to third base and they make Devers towards the end of his contract more of a DH, but that's a decision for later on. So much versatility with this kid. He is going to be very good. He had been sidelined last week by minor hip soreness, but he was activated from the injured list on Saturday and considered ready to return to the lineup. Roman Anthony is 20 years old and is the third youngest position player in all of AA. He had an excellent 2023 campaign and has since posted a 266 batting average, 364 on base percentage, and 477 slugging line with 14 home runs, 36 extra base hits, and 16 steals in 83 contests this year. He's displayed huge power potential for a player his age, as he actually had an electrifying performance at the All-Star Futures Skills Showcase, as well as a recent homer that left his bat with an exit velocity of 116 miles per hour, which was the hardest hit ball by a Red Sox player at any level, including the big leagues this year. So that power has definitely been reinforced on multiple instances this year. He does have some vulnerability to strikeouts with a 26% strikeout rate, particularly against lefties, where his strikeout rate is 33%, and also against breaking balls in general. But even so, he's young enough that there's still time for him to diminish his holes, especially given his strong handle on the strike zone, because he does produce a 13% walk rate. So the swinging and miss stuff, he can continue to develop and hopefully cut down on those when he's at the AAA level. He was a 2022 second rounder and has spent most of his year in center field and has worked hard to improve his jumps and routes there. But he's also played one game in right and has seen roughly half of his non-DH games over the last month in left field. Most evaluators do project him to end up as an upper half of the order corner outfielder. Assuming he makes his Woo Sox debut tomorrow, Anthony, at 20 years and 92 days, will become the youngest Red Sox prospect to play in AAA since Glenn Hoffman in 1978. He was 19 at that point. So lots to be excited about with Anthony, but I'm glad he's getting exposure to all three outfield positions because it'll make it easier from the standpoint of finding a spot for him on this Red Sox team. Kyle Teel, the 2023 first rounder for the Red Sox, has made a smooth transition to pro ball in his first full professional season. He's 22 years old and hitting .294 with a .387 on base percentage and .456 slugging, with 11 homers and 30 extra base hits in 83 contests with the Sea Dogs this year. Teel has a versatile hit-seeking offensive approach, alternating between controlled swings in which he'll line the ball to all fields while also having enough strength to drive the ball to the gaps and over fences when he cuts loose, which is all super important because he knows how to utilize every aspect of the ballpark, which is great for a place like Fenway. Both his offensive potential and athleticism are rare for a catcher. His work behind the plate in his transition to pro ball had been uneven, but he has shown major improvement in his receiving, game calling, and throwing since the beginning of July. And his combination of intangible traits like leadership and intelligence, as well as physical skills, suggests he can stay behind the plate. He definitely needs to continue to improve defensively, especially because Connor Wong has struggled behind the dish this year too. So if that's going to be the catching tandem moving forward with Kyle Teel as number one and Connor Wong as the backup catcher, they need to be able to play defense. So that's something that I'm looking to see more from Teel when he goes up to AAA and continues to develop. But all three of these guys are slated to make a big impact at the big league level when they get there. And it's interesting that they all got called up together on a day in which the Red Sox got swept by the Houston Astros. That could symbolize either the Red Sox are starting to feel like they might not make the playoffs this year, so they want to show that they have these guys in the system that are going to come up maybe next year and be able to contribute right away for this Red Sox team, or they just simply were ready and they want to get them reps in AAA sooner so that they can come up to the major leagues sooner. Either way, definitely interesting timing on it, but I'm really excited to see what the three of them can do at the AAA level as they look to continue to develop into the players they're going to be down the road in the majors. Red Sox got to get it together, got to turn things around at the end of the day, play better baseball starting tonight against the Rangers. So we just have to hope for the best. And as always, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.